Hi, hello, vanakkam. So I had a number of requests to make a video about air fryer. So this video will talk about my journey with the air fryer, why I even bought it in the first place, and how do I feel about it, and what do I use it for now. And I'm trying to discuss a bit about some of the effects of cooking in the air fryer, but I'm not a food scientist, so don't you don't have to take my word for it. You can do your own research, but I've shared what I gathered during my journey to decide to get an air fryer and use it as well. So I bought mine about 5 to 6 years ago during a sale in John Lewis. It was during a Christmas. I think I got it for about £80. So mine is a Philips air fryer, and it has mechanical timer. So it goes like this, and then I can you hear the bell rings when things are done, and the temperature dial is right here. So the maximum temperature it goes to is about 200 degrees centigrade, and that's all you really need. I haven't seen recipes which ask for any higher temperature than that. So when it is working and the heating element is on, you will see the red light glowing. When the red light is off, that means the heating element is not burning, and it will go on and off depending on what the temperature inside the air fryer is. Right. So these equipments are not particularly small, and Philips at least is only this big. I've seen some from the States where they are quite big, like an OTG oven type of big, or even as big as a microwave. But I will admit, this is quite fat. It has a stout bottom. So it will take up a lot of your counter space. So make sure that you have enough counter space. The other aspect that you need to keep in mind when using an air fryer is the fact that it takes in air from outside and circulates it inside and sends it back out. So you need to allow air circulation. You cannot keep it in a very cramped place. So make sure that there is nothing around it. Another important thing is that these things can catch fire like any of your other heating equipments. So you need to exercise caution while using oil, especially in your air fryer. So the reason I went for the Philips one was back in that time when I did the research, they were pretty much the market leaders, and I think even now they are the ones that are dominating this market, at least in United Kingdom. I did notice that there are a number of different options, right from Insta Fryer, the instant pot maker, to Ninja, and so many others in the States. If if you live in the UK and you're gonna get one from the States, just make sure that you take care of the voltage differences. So I have no regrets about my Philips. I'm quite happy with my purchase. So this is a closer look at the drip tray. You can see that mine is clearly very well used. I've been using it for the last 5, 6 years. So I tend to put an aluminium foil in the bottom so that it is much easier to clean. So that's what I've shown there. I then insert the mesh and it's then ready to use. Some people use a parchment paper like how I've shown. This is available on Amazon as well. I haven't found it to be particularly helpful. It is worth noting that the mesh is actually a metal. It's not a non-stick surface, so it just appears to be steel. So I'm not a big fan of using non-stick. I don't have that many non-stick pans as well. So it is quite useful for my type of person. So let's just get into a bit of the mechanics of how it works so that we can appreciate this equipment a bit more. I'm going to simplify it a bit too much. Some of you may blame me for oversimplifying it, especially if you were one of the engineers that developed this. This is a very small sized convection oven. So the reason I say that is because the mechanism of heating the food, the reason why the food gets cooked in this by heating is using the convection currents that is generated inside this, just like your convection oven. So what is then so unique about it? Why couldn't I do things in my oven itself? Yes, you could do things in your oven. There are ways to work around your oven's limitations and use your oven. So air fryer is probably not the best option for everyone. So one of the main differences between an air fryer and the oven, convection oven, is that this has a heating element right underneath, right on top here. So I'm going to take the part out. So this is called the drip tray, and the mesh comes out like this. So that's the mesh for you. This is where we put the food. Now both these parts are dishwasher safe, so you can chuck it in the dishwasher and get it cleaned. So underneath this part here is the heating element. It's a coil and there is a fan, and that is what makes a big difference between the oven and the air fryer. So yes, a lot of ovens have fans as well, but where the difference comes is this fan is the one that ensures that hot air circulates around the food so that it can mimic deep frying as closely as possible. So the reason why this is a mesh is because you need to allow that hot air to circulate around it. One of the drawbacks in the convection oven is if you use a baking tray, then one side of your food is sitting on the baking tray and hence not exposed to that current. So the workaround for that, yes, you can buy a mesh like thing and use it in your convection oven. By all means, you can try that. I have my air fryer, I use it a lot. Right, so the main difference, like I said, is the blast of air that comes because of the fan. So let's now have a discussion about the chemistry of the food. Like I said earlier, I'm not a food scientist, but this is based on what I have learned. So whether you're doing deep frying or you're cooking it in the oven or you're doing air frying, a particular reaction happens during the cooking process. That's called the Maillard reaction. So like most chemical reactions, there will be byproducts in this cooking reaction as well. Now, one of the byproducts is the acrylamide. You would have heard in the recent news also about how you should reduce your consumption of deep fried food, especially starch. When starch is cooked, these chemical compounds are released in higher quantities. That's because of the reduction in the sugar that happens. So in general, it is recommended that you do not wait until the food browns. And this is not just for air fryer, this is universal. Any method of cooking, you don't want the starch to all brown a lot. So that's why they say the potato, don't wait until it gets that brown. And even for our rotis, they say you shouldn't have those dark spots on the rotis. That's a safer way of cooking than having those dark spots. Some people think that's the only way they can ensure that it is well cooked. So I'm not going to pretend that that reaction is not going to happen, because it will happen. It is a chemical reaction during cooking, and that will certainly happen. But based on my logic, and I'm an engineer, I try to apply the logic that I learn. So based on my logic, because of the size, how compact it is, most things get cooked in about 50 to 70% time that it takes in a convection oven. So this will easily reduce your cooking time, thereby I'm guessing the amount of the byproducts that are created will be much lesser. The other aspect is people get misled by the health claims. Now, if you're a person that eats a lot of the fries, in our household we don't eat a lot of fries. If you're one of those that eats a lot of fries, then you may want to think of switching to something like an air fryer so that you can make healthier fries. But just because it's healthier doesn't mean that it is free from any calories or it's necessarily good for the body. Everything has to be in moderation. Just because you have an air fryer doesn't mean you eat more. So in our household, we've been very mindful, and well, we don't have much time as well, about not increasing our intake just because we have the equipments that can do a good job or smart job for us. So we cannot expect the air fryer to control our intake. That is well within our hands. So from a chemical reaction point of view, it's always recommended that you don't cook the food for too long, above 120 degrees. And like I said, don't brown your food too much, whether it's the bread or whether it's your potatoes. Don't wait until they go really, really brown. That's when your byproducts are too much and they can be detrimental to the body. The next aspect is the fact that you use lesser oil, and you do need much less oil than conventional cooking. That is for sure. but that doesn't that means that you get lesser calorie intake. But like I said, still be mindful of what you're eating. I'm trying to follow that, and I'm just trying to share that wisdom with you as well. So if you're wondering what all have I cooked in my air fryer, I have done quite a lot because I've used it for 5 to 6 years, and as you can see, mine is very well used. I use it almost on a daily basis. So I've made a list of things that you can obviously make as well. So I make what's called tatty fingers. I've named that basically your French fries, with much less oil, and so I just make variants of that, cook it here, and then put whatever spices I need once I've taken it out. I make I fry the paneer in this. You barely need any oil. You just need like a few drops of oil just drizzled around the paneer, and it comes out great. And it does make a difference when you fry the paneer and put in like matar paneer sort of dishes. And then I do fry fryams, which is one of my childhood favorites. Golden fingers. They come out very well, and in about 2 minutes it's all done. You don't really need oil for those sort of things. Of course, you can make popcorns as well. I also make arbi fry, like taro root. So instead of deep frying, and this is one of those dishes that comes so close to the deep fried version. Okra fry, again you can make crispy okra in this. Sometimes I find it helpful to cook a bit on my fire and then put it here to get that crispy texture. That way it gets done in about 5 minutes. You get that crispy texture, so that seems to be helpful as well. Just my finishing touch, I finish off in my air fryer. And then I also make cook some vegetables like baby corn. I coat it with some corn flour. I also coat potatoes with corn flour for my deviled potatoes. Baby corn Manchurian, when I make that, I coat it with corn flour and cook in this instead of deep frying. You can also make your koftas, and I make onion pakoras, and they come out really, really good. That is another dish that I will absolutely vouch for on the air fryer. I also roast eggplant, so if I have to make chutney and I need to cook the eggplant in about 10-12 minutes, it's all done there, and it's got that nice roasted effect and not create a mess on my hob. And then you can also roast onion, tomato with garlic in this to make your basic mother sauce for your North Indian curries. I did try papadam, and unfortunately when I tried it, because like I said, there is a fan inside, the fan just sucked the papadam up, and it stuck to the heating element. It was a mess to clean that up. So if you ever want to fry papadam, you might want to put something heavy on it, like a little trivet that you might have for something else. You can just place that on it so that it gets cooked. And then what else? You can use it to fluff up roti. So what I have tried is, sometimes I just want to make some rotis and keep it in the fridge, but I'm not always satisfied with that. So what I tend to do is cook 2 sets of the roti and just stack them up and store that. And when I'm ready to eat, I can just put that roti in the air fryer for a few seconds, and it fluffs up so well, and I don't have those brown spots which we talked about can be detrimental as well. So it's great for that. Some people seem to have done batora as well. I haven't tried that yet, and some even claim that they've done puri, and I haven't quite tried that yet. I do think that some dishes which I make like once in a year are reserved for the conventional method of cooking, but that's just me. So there are some Facebook groups for specifically Indian air fryer dishes, as well as normal air fryer recipes. And one of my biggest inspiration to buy this was the Va chefs from vareva.com. His recipes using the air fryer. You can make snacks like chakli and ribbon and anything where it is quite dry. It's more of a dough than a batter. It works absolutely well. If it's a batter, you might have to make it into a thicker batter, because what happens is when the air is forced on it, the batter will move away. So it'll get moved because of the force of the air, and that's one of the reasons why it doesn't work very well if your batter is the normal batter that you use in your deep frying. So if you make thicker batter, it will work. And that's the sort of thing that I do for the onion pakoras as well. I will also be posting some recipes about this using my air fryer in my blog Tastefully Veggie. So I hope you found this video useful. Please do leave your comments. I absolutely love my air fryer. I did my research about the harm of cooking in microwave, and I was convinced that it was not good for my body. So we as a family decided we will not have a microwave, and for the last 4+ years we've not had a microwave. And I strongly believe that it does, the means of cooking makes a lot of difference to the food and even the taste and the texture. For me, the air fryer has been very good. The risk is as low or as high as the convection oven, and I'm ready to live with that. But again, everything in moderation. That is my key. Right, I hope you like the video. Do leave your comments. I would be interested to know what you made out of this video. Thank you. Bye-bye.